Everyone thinks the most dangerous thing a parent can do is raise their voice. But the truth is, the quietest fathers do the most damage.
My name is Heidi Hutchins, and my father, Warren Hutchins, was an architect by profession and a demolition expert by nature, specifically when it came to me. He built beautiful things for strangers and dismantled his daughter so quietly nobody in our postcode even noticed. It started when I was 7. Warren had a system, not abuse in the way people immediately picture. No marks, no screaming. Something more insidious. He withheld, selectively, strategically, consistently. Praise was rationed like it cost him money. My younger brother Finn could bring home a mediocre drawing, and Warren would frame it, literally frame it, on the hallway wall. I brought home a distinction in my Year 3 reading assessment, and he said, "Don't let it go to your head, Heidi. Intelligence without discipline is just noise." I was only 7. I didn't know what discipline meant yet. I just knew the drawing on the wall wasn't mine. In fact, I had nothing about me on the wall. He had a name for me that he used exclusively when I fell short of something, Heidi Ho, delivered with a particular smile. My brother thought it was affectionate. It wasn't. I hated it. Warren knew exactly what it communicated. A small, private diminishment that only I could fully feel. By my teenage years, the architecture of his cruelty had become more sophisticated. At 15, I developed a serious passion for medicine, read everything, volunteered at the local clinic, had a plan. Warren sat me down one evening with the measured composure of a man delivering a business verdict. "You're not cut out for medicine, Heidi. The sciences require a particular kind of mind. Finn has it. You're more of an arts girl." He hadn't been asked. I hadn't requested his assessment. I replied and said, "I have the highest science marks in my year, Dad." "Marks aren't everything," he said, and returned to his newspaper. "Think about something more realistic." I sat with that for about 6 months, let it redirect me, chose different A-levels. It took me 3 years to understand he'd simply cleared the path for Finn, who he was already grooming for medicine, by stepping directly on mine. When I confronted him at 18, he looked genuinely puzzled. "I was being practical, Heidi. You should be thanking me." That was the moment I understood Warren Hutchins completely. As an adult, the dynamic shifted form again. He'd developed a habit, at every family gathering, without fail, of introducing me to people with a qualifier attached. Never just, "My daughter Heidi." Always, "This is Heidi. She's still finding her feet." Heidi's between things at the moment. "You know Heidi, always the creative one." Usually said in the tone people reserve for polite disappointment. I was 23, with a first-class degree in biomedical science, a course I'd fought my way back to after his redirection, and a graduate research position at Manchester University. I'd rebuilt everything he'd quietly knocked over. He just hadn't noticed, because he hadn't looked. The final straw arrived at his 60th birthday dinner. His speech, about legacy, about the children he was proud of, featured Finn extensively. A single line about me, buried between thanking his golf partner and acknowledging the catering staff. And Heidi, who's always been her own person. Her own person? What the hell does that even mean? I drove home and sat in my car for a long time. Then I made a phone call. My research supervisor, Dr. Patricia Okwe, had been quietly pushing me toward a National Science Communication Award for emerging researchers under 25. I'd been modest about it, deflecting. I rang her that night and said I was ready to submit. 3 months later, I won it. The ceremony was covered by 3 national publications: my photograph, accepting the award, shaking hands with the judging panel, ran in the science supplement of a broadsheet Warren read every Saturday without exception. He rang me that morning, different voice, stripped of its usual composed authority. I saw the paper. I know. Heidi, I didn't know you were... You didn't ask, Dad. You never really cared to know stuff about me. He paused for a moment. The research position, the award, I didn't... He stopped, started again. I told you medicine wasn't for you. Then I cut in and said, and I went back to it anyway, because you were wrong. I kept my voice completely even. You've been wrong about me consistently since I was 7. I just stopped needing you to be right. The silence that followed was the longest of my life. Then finally he said, I think I've done you a disservice. Not an apology. Warren Hutchins wasn't built for full apologies. But from him, a man who'd never once admitted being wrong about anything, was seismic. Yes, I said simply, very much you have. I didn't comfort him, didn't fill the silence, just let him sit in the truth of it for once without me smoothing it over. I sent him a copy of the award write-up in the post, no note attached, just my name, printed clearly, under the words, Outstanding Emerging Researcher, not Heidi Ho, not Still Finding Her Feet, not her own person, just Heidi Hutchins, exactly who she always was. He just finally had proof he couldn't argue with.